Have you ever wondered about finding, well, true freedom, a way to sort of live beyond life's biggest challenges? What if there was an ancient secret, a way of seeing things so clearly that even, the king of death couldn't touch you? Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a really intriguing, very concise ancient text. Our source is an excerpt called 16, Mogharājamāṇavapucchā from the Sutta Nipata. And our mission really is to unpack the surprisingly direct answer it gives. It's about how to view the world to, well, transcend suffering and maybe even death itself. It's a journey into some potent ancient wisdom. Let's get into it. So our story kicks off with this figure, Mogharaja. He's called the venerable, right, which tells you straight away he's respected.
Mm-hmm. Definitely held in high regard.
But what really stands out in this text is just how persistent he is. He's not just, casually asking something. He's really seeking.
Absolutely. The text mentions he goes to Sock first, this revered figure, an eye-opener, not just once, but it seems like several times.
And gets no answer initially.
Exactly. He's turned away, or at least not given the answer he's looking for, which I think sets up the whole encounter beautifully.
How so?
Well, it highlights this deep respect for the wisdom being sought. There's the sense that profound truths aren't just handed out. Maybe you need a certain readiness. Or, like Mogharaja shows, real commitment.
Right. And he even mentions this expectation he has. He says he heard that the God-seer answers for the third time.
Yeah, implying he thinks, okay, this is my chance. I've been persistent. Now Gotama will answer. It really shows that human drive, doesn't it? That deep need for answers to the big questions.
So after all that effort, he finally gets his audience with Gotama. And the question, well, it starts broad but gets very specific very quickly.
It does. It's fascinating. First, he asks about Gotama's view on reality itself.
This world, the other world, the Brahma world with its deities. He's pretty explicit, saying, I do not understand the view of the glorious Gotama on these things.
Mm-hmm. He wants the framework, the sort of cosmic understanding first. How does this enlightened being see existence?
But then he pivots.
Right to the heart of it. The second part is the killer question. How should one look upon the world so that the king of death does not see one?
Wow. Okay, so from understanding different realms to basically asking how to become invisible to death, that's quite a leap.
It is, and it really raises the stakes. You see, Mogharaja isn't just after a philosophical map of worlds. He's asking for a way of seeing, a perception of reality that could actually free someone from death.
From that ultimate limitation.
Exactly. It's such a timeless human worry, isn't it? How do we deal with mortality? How do we find liberation within this life, knowing it ends? He's looking for a practical path.
And Gotama's answer. It's incredibly direct, almost startlingly simple on the surface.
It really is. Just look upon the world as empty, Mogharaja, always mindful, having removed the view of self. Bam.
Okay, let's break that down. Look upon the windlet as empty.
Sunyanyato loka avekasu. What does empty truly mean here? It sounds a bit bleak. Yeah, empty can definitely sound that way at first glance. But in this context, it's not about nothingness or a void. It's more about seeing that things lack, well, inherent, permanent, independent existence.
So not that things aren't there, but that they aren't solid and fixed in the way we usually assume.
Precisely. It's about seeing everything phenomena, ourselves, experiences as interdependent, constantly changing, without some fixed, unchanging core or self-nature. It's seeing the flow, not the solid objects.
And then comes always mindful, sadasato. That feels crucial. It's not just an intellectual idea then.
Not at all. Mindfulness here means constant awareness, presence. You have to see this emptiness, this lack of inherent self moment to moment. It's about cultivating that direct perception, not just, believing in the concept.
Right. It has to be lived.
Mm-hmm. And that ties directly into the next part.
Yeah.
Having removed the view of self, tanuditya-haka.
Removing the view of self. Not necessarily the self itself, but the view.
That's a key distinction, I think. It's about dismantling our fixed, rigid ideas of I, me, mine, letting go of that concept of a permanent, separate self that we build everything around and get attached to.
So it's the clinging to that idea of a solid self that's the issue.
That seems to be the core of it. That clinging is what causes so much suffering. And in the context of this question, it's what gives the king of death something to, well, see or grasp onto.
Okay, so putting it all together.
Yeah.
See the world as lacking inherent self-nature. Maintain constant mindful awareness of this and let go of the fixed idea of me.
Right.
And the text promises, thus one would be a conqueror of death.
Yeah.
In looking upon the world thus, the king of death does not see one.
Yeah. It's a powerful claim.
It really is.
Yeah.
So this isn't about literally becoming invisible or achieving physical immortality.
No, probably not in a literal sense. It's more about transcending the conditions that lead to suffering and the fear of death, which are tied up in that very view of self.
How so? Can you elaborate on that connection?
Well, if you see everything, including what you call yourself, as this dynamic, interconnected process empty of a fixed core, then what is there for death to end? The illusion of a permanent you is what makes death seem like annihilation.
Ah, okay, so if you remove that fixed view of self, death loses its target, in a way.
That seems to be the implication. It's not about avoiding the physical process, perhaps, but about fundamentally changing your relationship to it by understanding the nature of reality and self differently. You're no longer identifying with something that can be destroyed in an ultimate sense.
You're aligning yourself with the flow rather than a fixed object that resists it.
Kind of like that, yeah. You transcend the fear and the suffering associated with death by seeing through the construct that death appears to threaten. It's liberation through insight.
So recapping this deep dive,
Yeah.
we started with Mogharaja, this really persistent seeker.
Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't take no for an answer, essentially.
Right, and he asks Gotama this ultimate question. How do I live so that death doesn't see me?
And gets this profound, concise answer. See the world as empty, be mindful always, and remove that fixed view of self.
It's amazing how much is packed into those few lines.
It really is. And this ancient wisdom, it still resonates. It challenges how we think about who we are, what reality is. It's not just some dusty old text.
Absolutely. It pushes us to think about perception, identity, maybe even freedom itself in a radically different way. So for you listening, here's something to maybe ponder after this deep dive. What parts of your own life or your sense of who you are do you currently hold on to as being really full or fixed? And what might it actually mean, even just as a thought experiment, to start seeing them as empty in the way this text suggests? What kind of, perhaps, new freedom or perspective might that offer?
That's a great question to sit with. What happens when we loosen that grip on self?